Well, Charles, let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. Indeed, here we are on Broadway.
On Broadway, yes. And actually, that's why we've selected today's... Is that a murder?
Probably.
It's not even sundown. So, arriving about 3 hours early. But Charles, that is the reason we selected this.
It's an awesome poster.
Birdbrain, right? You've seen this movie, right? Birdman.
I may have. I've certainly heard of it.
Well,
But
we've got all of the favorites there. President Birdbrain, Jen Psaki. Pete, the booty gauge is off the register here. And of course, Bill and Kamala, all the usual suspects are present.
right.
But the movie, it was interesting because it was about a, I forgot to show everybody all the reviews there. He's, hilariously stupid or whatever. What was it? Utter
We're about to be solicited.
failure on every level, utterly ignorant, savage and strange, and hilarious.
Those were the people at the top of Joe Biden's law school class. That was their level. He's so far below that. Careful.
Well, the thing that was interesting about that Birdman movie, Charles, it's
Careful,
about
we don't have the light.
it's about Michael Keaton. Almost maybe I thought
We can go.
biographical because he played Batman
Right.
back in the day in the first Batman movie that was partially responsible for kicking off the huge wave of superhero movies that we now have. But in the film, it's super interesting because it kind of builds on a technique that Hitchcock attempted in a film called The Rope.
Oh, wow.
They shoot the entire movie as a single take.
Wow.
But when Hitchcock did it, it was very limited and didn't quite work, in my opinion, because he needed to shoot the film it basically was just shooting a Broadway stage play as a film.
Uh-huh.
But the Alejandro Iratu or something like that is the guy's name who directed it, is an extremely creative director, and using modern visual effects techniques, they were able to do a lot of fancy stuff to make Birdman appear to be a single take, but obviously it took a long time to do that. Anyway, not what we're here to talk about. We're going to talk about President Birdbrain.
I mean, it really, this guy, Ron Klain, who is the chief of staff to President Biden, is a diabolical schmuck. I mean, he really is. There's no way that Ron Klain or Joe Biden should allow Joe to continue trying to pretend that he is even awake, let alone capable of making the important calls that have to be made now on the economy and foreign policy. It's just pathetic. I mean,
I agree.
He won't answer.
It's a weed world, Charles. We're just living in it.
Right.
Is that your stuff?
It's
Unattended package.
right. No IED risk here at Broadway, but it's really pathetic. I mean, we think to Donald Trump and the degree of difficulty he went through on his schedule. I mean, he was tweeting at 1 o'clock in the morning, and he was back tweeting at 5 o'clock in the morning the next, 4 hours later, and hard at work, and he'd have meeting after meeting after meeting, and then he'd get on a plane, go to Singapore, and try to meet with Kim Jong-un, and didn't work. So he'd get up and take questions from 150 international journalists for, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really impressive. In contrast, Joe Biden gets up there, makes a fool out of it, confirms that he's a fool, and then walks away without taking any questions. It's ridiculous.
We got another street fair over there.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous, Charles. He's an absolute jackass. I've had it with Joe Biden. He's getting increasingly pissed off, trying to make people get the vaccine.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother story. I tweeted out, actually somebody has found either a press conference or a summary of an interview with Fauci predicting I think it was Fauci, in October of 2018. I know who it is. It's Lisa Monaco, the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, did a paper in December of 2018 with an Indian person called Vin Gupta, probably no relation to Rajat Gupta, stating we need to plan now for another pandemic, October of 2018. That person, Lisa Monaco, was on Bill Clinton's White House staff. Here's a White House counsel or Department of Justice in 98 to 2000. She was the head of the Department of Homeland Security, or senior person in the Department of Homeland Security under Obama. And in addition, she had responsibility for a time for enforcing the Foreign Agents Registration Act. She is currently the person who makes the call, Department of Justice, what things get prosecuted, what don't get prosecuted, and she is a Clinton-Obama swamp monster.
Well, that's important because, you know, as we've spoken about quite extensively, Larry was very involved at that point in time, revealing some of the stuff having to do with Charlie Tree and Chinagate.
I should talk to Larry about that, maybe even on air.
Yeah.
Because I was telling you that I've...
Colombo?
Yeah, there's another one over there. Competing ones. I regularly buy books, and I saw this book written by a guy called I.C. Smith, and it's called Inside is the title, with a long, description afterwards. Let's get that. I won't try to shout over this.
It's a good soundtrack for your monologue.
Yeah. The natives are definitely restless. So,
I.C. Smith.
He was centrally involved in the investigation of Charlie Tree, this FBI agent. And he describes a pattern that I think we've observed in our reporting, that in the Democrat administrations, and probably under W. Bush and H.W. Bush, maybe even under Reagan, the real challenge that is not addressed yet is the abuse of discretion that political appointees can effect to either punish a political opponent or protect a political rival. So the standard Clinton approach is to say, all right, what we're going to do, Bill acceded to the notion that there would be a special counsel. He claims he's pissed off about it. In his book and elsewhere there was a bad decision, etc. But no, it was a great idea. You appoint a special counsel. That allows all the Nimrod mainstream media types to say, well, the special counsel didn't find anything, so there must not have been anything.
I will commend a white-shirted police captain for actually paying attention and doing a proper job here in Times Square.
That is good, because this has got to be, we're getting into risky territory now as the crowds come back and as the various Afghan unvetted refugees.
Could be mixed among us anywhere.
And there's
leaving
so
their
much
bags unattended.
And there's so much trash. Take, for example, this.
Solar-powered trash.
Now,
how could you fit anything in there?
Easily. You just put put liquid in here.
Oh, a bomb, you mean, or a fire. Right.
And then they're all over the place. There are cops there.
They eliminated bins in London after IRA was bombing garbage cans.
Now, where is Sardi's again? Is that 44th or 46th Street? Or 45th?
I don't know, but they have all the drawings of everybody in there.
Yeah, because I'm thinking we should probably, we want to go west.
Right. The other thing that we're doing is we're here to reevaluate all these supposedly open Broadway shows, because I keep hearing idiots like Bill de Blasio say things like, New York is back! But then there's shootings outside my apartment, and every day I go outside, more and more businesses are closed. So I think it's more accurate to say New York is on its back.
What is that? Is it like a wrecking ball as a song or something?
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus, like a wrecking ball? That's basically what Bill de Blasio and his wife are. They're wrecking bullshit balls. Oh, look at this. It's hilarious. Fuck Biden.
Oh, nice.
Trump is my president. Let's see the reaction this gets. That's funny.
That is great. We should ask that guy how the Super Cruise is.
We could probably, depending on how, we could make it over there if we want to dash. Let's do it. And we'll walk by him. Let's see what type of person this is. We got 9 seconds. Let's just see who's inside as he goes by.
Very
That's
blacked out windows. I don't
that's
think we'll
very
be able
funny.
to see.
But so far, nobody's complaining.
Well, he is driving a giant SUV that could run people over.
Yeah, he's a white guy.
And also look like a pretty tough guy in there.
That's pretty funny. So you want to go up? I forget where Sardi's is.
Well, do we want to look at a few of these
Sure.
Broadway shows and see if they're actually open? Because that's the thing, is that the Birdman movie is about the superhero actor trying to, legitimize or break away from that typecast by being on Broadway or something like that. So, I don't know.
Well, here's Carmine's. Carmine's, I think Sardi's may be up there.
Right. Oh, yeah, I see it.
You see Sardi's? Oh, yeah, there it is.
Right, so Carmine's was attacked by BLM for a week. I guess they're over that.
But not this one.
No,
The
but
one
this
up-
is the one where the incident occurred, so that makes even
Right.
less sense.
So they attacked the one on the Upper West Side. I remember, I've told the crowd and I've told you about this couple. The names were Val Avery and Margot Stevenson Avery. And if you look those two names up on Wikipedia, you'll see quite a lot of information. Both of their pictures or whatever are in Sardi's. And as a kid, we would go, I would go with my parents to shows in which one or the other was there, and afterwards we'd all go to Sardi's. And it was really, that was fun.
But it's got all the caricature drawings of famous people all over the place, right?
Well, and they would, and the thing of it is, we go backstage. You're a 10-year-old, you're a 12-year-old. You meet all these stars, and you see how the stuff is made, and then you hear Val Avery had a volcanic temper. I mean, he would just unload. Let's see if we can see into Sardi's. It looks pretty dark, but he would.
Yeah.
I remember we were waiting for him at Sardi's, and he was like half a block down that way, yelling and screaming at his wife, "You idiot!" like at a gigantic voice. Looks closed.
It looks closed.
That's sad if it is.
Well,
and when after the Val, I think, died first, and then Margot died second, and I just happened to be walking near my apartment building, near their apartment building, and there was the daughter. She said to me, "Would you and your father like to come to the memorials?" Which was here at Sardi's upstairs. And they had a whole bunch of lifelong friends had put together an actual video, like a 30-minute tribute to it was wonderful.
Renovation.
Got to put a year in.
Yeah. Close the restaurant until the public health threat has subsided. Our first obligation is to ensure the safety of our patrons. I don't know. What do you think of that, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, this was, I remember in the day, I don't know if you were ever served this, they had, what do they call them? Shirley Temples.
Yeah.
And,
Why are the police all here?
well, because these are what's over here. I mean, there's.
But it should be that each of these shows have fairly substantial crowds outside them, and it just looks like this one is open.
I don't know, Jason. It really depends the time. I don't know what. It's been 30 years since I went to a play, so I had no clue what time they on a Sunday.
Is this David Byrne from the Talking Heads?
I got no clue. I mean, you may as well ask me about the specifications of a camera.
Well,
But
is it David Byrne from the Talking Heads? David Byrne from the Talking Heads? Oh yeah, look at there he is.
okay, well, who's David Byrne from the
He
Talking Heads?
is the lead singer of the Talking Heads. Stop making sense.
You did that about several sentences ago.
That's
to me,
right.
As far as I'm concerned.
So the St. James Theater is open with David Byrne, but I mean, you're telling me that Phantom of the Opera is not?
Well, again, it's Sunday, so
They have a sign over there.
my recollection, the big.
Hey, look this. When did they have a John's Pizza here?
They've had this for a while. Well, they say since 1977, or 1997.
But that's the one in the
The original one is down in
West
Baker
Village.
Street, yeah.
yeah.
And for those who haven't been to that, I actually really like John's Pizza because it's thin crust, and I've been going there since I was maybe 5. And a little completely unscripted, off-topic suggestion to those people who've never been to John's: when you go, buy a bunch of the small pizzas and have them delivered sequentially. Don't buy a big one and let it cool
Delivered
down.
to the
Just
table, you mean?
have them come like every 5 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, I don't
Depending
think they
on-
actually deliver to your house.
No,
do
no,
they?
no, no, to your table. You know, and
Yeah.
I don't know how far we want to go west.
Well, I mean, we could go. I mean, aren't there more
Yeah,
Broadway theaters?
Let's go up and back and up and back.
And let's just see if there's shows open, because I'm pretty sure.
Here's the bum show.
Yeah, there should be more.
Pardon
Good
me
thing
while I
nobody's
walk
about to
around.
trip over that guy.
Yeah, pardon me while I walk around you, sir. Thank you. Really appreciate your participation in the city.
It's
This, from memory, this is we're at 8th Avenue now, right? Yeah, 8th Avenue. 8th and 9th used to be really slummy in the 60s and 70s, and
now it's
whorehouses. I mean, whores on the street and mayhem. Yeah, Hell's Kitchen.
lots of stuff for lease around here, Charles.
But the whole idea, I mean, of going, let's say you have a husband, wife, and 2 kids. You can go back this way.
Here we go. Here's a lot more shows.
Yeah, and I think there's also a middle street. But anyway, now to take a husband, wife, and let's say a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old to a Broadway show,
Oh, it's like $1,000 or something.
and then parking if you live in the suburbs, and then lunch or dinner, whichever you choose. I mean, it is a shit ton of money.
It's ridiculous.
Here's the star of this show.
Well, but I mean, all of these. There's one theater where people are standing there. The Temptations.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't seem hustling and bustling to me.
Not at all.
What are these idiots doing standing in the middle of the street?
Looks like a conversation. Some kind of badge. Oh, this is Dear Evan Hansen, Charles. At the Music Box Theater.
And it won 6 Tony Awards.
I'm just so unimpressed
You think
by
that's
all
'cause
of
of
these
us?
awards.
Because we featured them? I mean, it was nothing until we drew attention to it. Maybe we should send them a
I
bill.
don't even know Tony. Well, it could be due to Tony Fauci.
Oh yeah, did you see that story that Tony Fauci's documentary, like nobody was watching it?
Yeah.
And IMDb is owned by Amazon apparently?
Yeah.
And they're trying to manipulate it so
Yeah.
that they get more views. And it's just...
Well, the best thing about it is I think it's the lowest rated thing ever on Rotten Tomatoes. They always do it so that like the professional reviewers have one score and then the audience has another score. And the professional reviewers were like 96% liking it,
Right.
and the actual audience was
like-
2% liking it.
That's funny. Of course,
And I think
that'll
there's
happen to maybe me and maybe us or whatever, but
I don't think so. We usually, when there's no manipulation, have between 90 and 98% positive reviews based on the audience, and I'm unaware of any professional reviewers who look at our shows.
let's just look at this menu here and see how the prices have changed.
This is the Junior Cheesecake Company. Right? Don't these guys have something to do with cheesecake?
Chopped liver for $13 as an appetizer.
No, thank you.
Yeah, let's see, a 10-ounce cheeseburger, $13. That doesn't seem that high to me. But sandwiches,
People who don't live in New York City just had their jaws hit the floor when you said that.
really? Well, let's see, what about the side orders? $7 for linguine marinara, mac and cheese is
$8.50.
Is it how much?
$8.50 for macaroni and cheese.
I mean, I like my mac and cheese.
$8.50 for a vanilla shake. Where's the cheesecake? Yeah, famous cheesecake. $8.25 for a piece of cheesecake there, Charles.
That seems reasonable.
Well,
And
no,
this
it
is
doesn't.
basic. I know this is basically a coffee shop. I mean,
It
this
seems
is-
like the normal price in New York City, but that is not at all reasonable.
Yeah, and that's just the sticker price. On top of that, you have you may
tip,
have
tax.
and sales tax, which is almost 9%.
Well, and then you got to park over here.
Yeah, let's show them the monthly rate there.
I'm sure it's $700.
It is $718.06.
Right.
And that's for a normal sedan. Most people don't have those. Most people have
SUV is another $200.
126, and if it's an exotic, $464.
Whoa.
I mean, this is just
So wait a minute. So if you have a SVT Raptor, it's going to be
it's $1,300
yeah, a month to park
plus
the damn thing.
18.375% New York City parking tax.
I don't understand how this city has any kind of budget deficit. They're ripping people off left and right.
Well, I mean, the answer is, I think, in part that the
850 million to de Blasio's wife.
It's like the Clinton Foundation and these fake charities. They don't tell you how much revenue they actually collect. So I think, for example, of the tolls. You know, back in the days when you could pay cash for those tolls, how much of that cash disappeared before it hit the supposed revenues of the toll authority?
I would think probably 250% of it.
And then I think there's also the game of how many fake workers do we want to have for each real worker, and how much does each fake worker kick back to the crook who puts them on the payroll?
Right.
You know, so
here Madonna
not
has
this
something
guy.
happening, Charles. Oh yeah, the cowboy.
Let's go around him so we don't.
You've really grown to dislike him.
Well, I just don't. I don't like the stink.
Yeah, he's a little boozy.
You know, the whatever the jet fuel that he's drinking.
Wow, this guy's like turning against the light, not looking. Maybe not against the light, but not looking. So here we go, Charles. Still walking.
That's Bill de Blasio.
What did Spider-Man identifies as a Z?
Yeah, let's go past this. So that
Spider person, sorry.
And these are the pickpockets. Got to watch this very carefully.
What do we have going on here today?
It says they jump over each other. I forget what they do. Sing.
Oh, capoeira, yeah.
But this is definitely, I mean, social distancing. I don't think
mind.
so.
I mean,
There's a fake monk. In case people don't understand this, I'm a bit cynical.
Now, there were a lot of other things that we wanted to talk about. Nice,
Yes.
look at that. This guy's, is anybody giving him anything with that
yes,
sign? I mean,
that's
at least
cool.
it's a different approach.
It's School of Joe Biden.
Right.
It's the School of Hunter Biden. Do we want to go one more down this way or go up this
Yeah,
way?
let's see what's going on. Oh, here's the Tina Turner show.
Is she still actually in business? She's got to be in her
I don't think
70s.
she is recording. I think she's probably over 80, but I don't think she's recording any music or anything. I saw her pretty recently, and she looks very good for her age.
In her prime, she was amazing.
Yeah,
And the
fantastic
energy.
talent.
Well, and the energy and the dance routines and
Well, I was thinking mostly about Beyond Thunderdome. Bust a deal, face the wheel, Charles.
I'm going to have to check you in for some re-education here at Scientology.
Oh, wait a minute, look at this. Bond.
That's
James Bond.
That's a cheesy. I think that used to be Mama Leone's or something. It's a cheesy
I
Italian
did not
fake.
like Mama Leone
Me either.
very much. But let's talk about James Bond for a minute, because there was a lot of discussion about how that was the most expensive James Bond film ever made. $250 million budget, $100 million marketing budget, tons of dough paid to Daniel Craig. Some portion of that went to gay bars, according to him. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But the film is getting pummeled, Charles.
Again.
53 million in its opening weekend, and
horrible.
7 million this weekend.
That's horrible.
And then it's being embarrassed by the Blumhouse, which is a company that I almost had a great contract with that fell through when 3D fell apart. But they've been embarrassed by a probably $3 million production budget Halloween reboot sequel.
Well, if you think
Jamie Lee Curtis.
I watch a lot of spy movies, and there are just so many of them. It's kind of like spy movie overload. And
Well, they lost the plot with James Bond. They tried to make him too much like Jason Bourne.
well, and I love the contrast. That on the one hand, you know, a black woman can play James Bond, but a
Well-
white man can't play a black woman.
It wasn't that she was playing James Bond. I haven't seen the film because it looks like crap to me, but it's that he retires and then she becomes 007.
Right, but I mean the whole. Actually, I think I've revealed that one of the first editions I have is The Man with a Golden Gun, and you know, if you go into the history of
The Fleming novel.
the Fleming novels, I mean, you can extrapolate it and maybe say, okay, umpty years later or decades later, Fleming might have been in favor today if he were still alive with this approach. But if you want to stay true to the actual history of the James Bond novels, you wouldn't be you'd be casting this as some sort of English person, you know, UK person.
I think the woman is British, but the point I'm more focused on is I don't like this notion of taking characters like Superman and
Right.
making them gay and
Changing them up.
create a new gay superhero and let that be your own thing, or create a new black female super agent. Like
Right.
Cullen mentioned to me, there's a movie called Salt where Angelina Jolie plays the super spy,
Yeah,
and they
that's-
didn't make it James Bond starring Angelina Jolie.
Again, I actually, on the one hand, think that an actor should be allowed, of any description, should be allowed to play, you know, a person, a character of any description. I mean, well, because if
Yes and no.
well,
I mean,
well, think about Hamilton, for example. But think about in the United States, the population of African Americans is what, 14%. So
Yes.
if you said African Americans can only play African American characters, that actually limits, right? And it's
all I'm getting at is there's a style of doing anything. And you know what? One time, many, many years ago, I was in England and I had a great opportunity to see a performance of Hamlet by the Royal Shakespearean, whatever, theater company. or something.
those are great actors.
And they did it. It was a very different take on Hamlet in that all of the, Rosencrantz and all the different characters in Hamlet were wearing modern business suits, and it was all modern. And then Hamlet the entire time was in pajamas. Okay, so if you wanted to make some stylized version of James Bond where he's, did you see that?
No, what happened?
Hannibal Lecter mask on that old lady?
I did not.
What I'm getting at is when it comes to making a film, the filmmaker needs to be, my opinion is it's got to be a director who is in charge of it. When we have these movies that are made by actuaries and committees and focus groups, they always suck.
Right.
So there's somebody who could do a version of James Bond where it's a black woman, and that might be a stylized, interesting thing. But it's got to be a radical departure from the regular thing in order for that to work. When you try to jam these new things into the existing world, it doesn't work. So, all right, here's a show that's obviously
What
open.
is 6?
I don't know. It's one more than 5.
It's a book about George Costanza's first child that he never had.
Right.
The child that could have been.
Children under 12 must show negative COVID test.
Evidently, people liked it.
I guess so. They're clogging the streets here.
It's good. We don't have to pass them. I can't get through.
Smells like hand sanitizer, Charles.
Now they're all going to head out where? Isn't that one of the famous theaters? Let's cross over that way to
Drew Barrymore Theater.
I think it's John Barrymore.
I know. It's not named after her, but
Yeah, she's a family member.
she's the daughter.
I think she's the granddaughter.
Oh, maybe the granddaughter, yeah. But this is 6. Oh, wait. How is this 6 if that's 6? Huh.
Sarah Bareilles. Who is Sarah Bareilles? A beret.
Sarah Borealis or something.
Beret.
Oh, yeah. She's a singer. Waitress, right. This is that thing that originally had Felicity in it.
Who in it?
I forget. Kerry Russell, I think was her name.
Oh, the Schubert organization. Schubert organization is incredibly powerful. They own most of these theaters.
Let's go to the sidewalk so we're not walking to the street. Well, all right, so there is a little bit of activity here on Broadway, but I mean, for the city that never sleeps, this is sort of a hitting the snooze button.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. And the Edison Hotel has seen better days. Across the street. Up. See?
Oh, yeah. Is that even a functional hotel right now?
I mean, that was an old style flea bag. Probably in its day it was good.
That was a high quality flea bag hotel back in the day.
Only the best fleas. Jason.
Right. Well, so Charles, what else do we want to speak about with regard to news? And there were so many things. I should make a list because it's hard to remember when we're walking around being distracted by all this stuff.
I suggest let's go up. We're on 47th. Let's stay on 47th and show people the jewelry district, which we've never done before. But you know, Bill Clinton is out of the hospital.
Oh, right.
And I'm happy for that because that means maybe he'll face the music.
Right.
But I started to explain that this
Look, an Olive Garden.
this special agent Ivan C. Smith
Oh, yeah.
had written a book in 2004 where he describes the way in which Hillary Clinton, he alleges, Hillary Clinton and others needed to get the longtime people who had been providing contracting for travel services for the press corps and for others. She wanted them out. So on, quote, trumped up charges, she got these people out, and viciously so, smeared them.
Right, the guy had been working for the White House since Johnson and was a super clean guy. She ruined his life with lawfare.
Yeah.
Hang on, you only got 4 seconds.
Okay. And she, so there's an example, kind of like what they did to Roger Stone or what they did to Jerry Corsi.
Way worse than what they did to those guys.
Well,
I saw an interview with this guy. He said he lost all his money, and then I think he died.
he was rather old, I think, at the time as well, but they were just vicious. And this, at the time, Vince Foster was still alive. This was in May of 1993. This was just when the real pressures were going to bear on Vince, because he knew that the Clinton tax return for 1992 was as Mike surmised, was incredibly problematic because at the end of 1992, they had bought in December, the very end of this, towards the end of December, they had unwound their relationship in theory with Whitewater, but they didn't do that properly, and it fell to Vince to try to paper over the mistakes, and he couldn't do it. And Hillary was yelling at him and screaming at him and yelling at everybody, and virtually everything that they touched in the early days of the administration turned to shit. And I.C. Smith recounts this, other people have recounted it, and it gets to a core problem with the way in which these big government transitions occur. Going back, I mean, H.W. Bush's team, he had been vice president for 8 years, he was wired, he knew the system, he had a whole team around him. So his transition to president was pretty straightforward. But after that, every subsequent transition, Bill Clinton had people who probably shouldn't have gotten a security clearance.
Right.
And the FBI was the department of the FBI, a special department, is in charge of vetting people who are trying to get these presidential appointment approvals.
Did we mention that I.C. Smith was an FBI agent?
He retired, a longtime FBI agent, and he retired as special agent in charge of the Little Rock office, something he in a big fight that we'll get into once we get into somewhat quieter territory. But
Hong Kong Station.
Did we go through a time warp?
Yes.
So he also describes what he calls and others call CampCon, CAMPCON, which stands for Campaign Contributions. And there was an investigation that began in December 1996, according to I.C. Smith, according to Louis Freeh in January 97, where they looked into Charlie Tree, John Wong, lots of other people, But while I.C. Smith claims that he and his team wanted to investigate aggressively, get subpoenas, use the special tools the FBI has to jack people up legitimately, Maine Justice wouldn't let him do that. A specific example, which is something people may know about that I didn't know about. One trick they like to do is serve you with a subpoena, but also have the ability, back in '97, probably it's easier now, to tap into all your phones.
Oh, right.
So they serve you
What
the
is that
subpoena.
thing called?
A pen register.
Pen register.
So they
right.
serve you with a subpoena, and then they listen excitedly and tape record your conversation of the person who's now being subpoenaed, who likely says, "Holy shit, Hillary, what do I do next?" Or "Holy shit, Mark Middleton," or whoever it was that was coordinating these illegal contributions to the Clinton administration and the DNC for the '96 and maybe earlier campaigns. So I.C. Smith recounts that what they were doing is the FBI, there are always rules of engagement, I guess, similar to in military conflicts. So the FBI does not have unbridled authority to do whatever it wants.
On paper.
Well, in these corrupt situations where the Maine Justice and the President don't want you to get to the answer, they say, all right, you can investigate and we'll allow you to open an investigation, but we need to get word in Maine Justice. Maine Justice doesn't, my understanding, do the investigations. It's the FBI field offices.
Right.
At Maine Justice, we want to get kept up to speed what you're finding, and we will approve the techniques that you may use to progress your investigation. And so they put, they had identified Charlie Tree and some woman in Little Rock who was working for Tree, who didn't speak English, and they had identified her basically destroying records. And they were
for people who don't know, Charlie Tree was supposedly a guy who owned a Chinese restaurant in Little Rock, like Bill Clinton's favorite Chinese restaurant.
Well, and I.C. Smith recounts, and here we are in the main section where the diamonds are. I.C. Smith recounts that
Is that guy offering you diamonds?
yeah, don't have a need for them right now. That Clinton would just go to his restaurant and wolf down as much food as he could eat and not pay for it.
That's hardly the biggest deal in the world, though.
Well, when the governor does that, everybody else in the state's going to do it,
Hey, something's super slowing down on us here. Hang on. Okay. Well,
could be the district here.
Yeah, something might be about to screw us up.
At least there are police everywhere.
Wow, we have full signal, so I'm not sure why this is happening.
The scandal that tens of millions or more of money may have been sent to people close to the Clintons or to the Clintons themselves to buy America's support for Britain's decision to hand over Hong Kong back to the PRC on July 1st, 1997. Let's keep going.
This is critical here, Charles.
What?
I don't know,
Let's
the
keep
police
going.
guarding something closed.
Well, it's got a lot of stuff in it. Probably.
Well, why do they get police?
Who knows? There's another one there.
I guess the taxes don't do anything to cause the police to protect people. You got to pay them additionally.
I don't know, Jason. But
So Charlie Tree.
They had an actual investigation. There's a guy now dead called Lee Radick, who appropriately was head of the Public Integrity Division of the Department of Justice, which I think may mean back then lack of public integrity.
Right.
So he basically slow-walked the progress, in quotes, against Charlie Tree. And on the very day that the Clinton Foundation received its approval to be a tax-exempt entity on the basis of a grossly defective application, was riddled with factual errors. That day, Charlie Tree was indicted in a sealed indictment.
Right.
So
Whatever happened to him? Sent him back to China.
well,
didn't
he fled, and then he came back and pled guilty. But in connection with all this, when you go back over the ground, the Clinton plan is let you open an investigation. It's the gospel of Clinton. open an investigation, and say that you're cooperating fully when you hire somebody like David Kendall to resist every single thing you're trying to do.
Right.
Hide any incriminating information until after the statute of limitations has passed.
And then end the investigation and say they found nothing.
Right. And then and if something new comes up, you say, you blame it on some underling, David Watkins for the helicopter thing, or Mark Middleton for Charlie Tree. You just blame it on some kid, Doug Band perhaps, or Uma Abedin, and
whoever.
Collect your gigantic book contract and waddle around like you're Queen Hillary Clinton the First, collecting speech honoraria you don't deserve and other benefits you certainly don't deserve, and think that you actually are the President of the United States. And that's the Clinton plan.
It's amazing.
And so I'm not going to reveal everything that I know at the moment, but I will tell you that in addition to the Clinton Presidential Foundation and fake entities around it, the library, the this, the that, there are 3 other fake or foundations that I think are vulnerable to grift. One is called the Clinton Birthplace Foundation, and that was set up originally in 1990, July 31st, 1990, by a guy called, I think it was Mark Middleton and others. And there, the idea was to raise money to renovate, to purchase and maintain the first home that Bill lived in, Hope. And he only lived there for a short time, and it's a dump.
But without the museum, though.
Well, I think it's fallen into disuse or something. But the thing of it is that the rule back then, and of course this is HW's president, the rule back then, if you're running for president, you have to wait to make your official announcement, and then you can raise money. So Bill
Trump is kind of breaking that now.
It would be if these various emails you're getting and I'm getting are coordinated with a nascent Trump campaign, yes, but if not, no. So in the case of the Birthplace thing, back then you had 27 months from the date you organized an entity until you applied.
Right.
And if you didn't do that properly, you had a problem. So they...
the moon is for rent.
This used to be an okay restaurant, actually. July 31st, 1990 is obviously before October 3rd, 1991. And Middleton and others, I think, were using this foundation that didn't become tax exempt till 94. Yeah, you need me to drop you off there? Or?
I don't know, Algeria?
Not a thing, not a place I want to live.
Not me either.
Yeah. So that's one of the first ones that I think may have been used for folks around the Clinton orbit. And when you go and you look at who's on the board of that thing, unlike the Clinton Foundation, which had in the beginning 3 directors, this thing has like 35 directors.
Is this the house that's on the side of the highway
we saw a
with
picture.
A fence around it?
And the people on the board are Senator Dale Bumpers, Senator
it's like
David
a 1,000 square foot house.
Well, and I think it was a vehicle to illegally solicit funds for Bill's presidential campaign. And that's one thing that has never been properly investigated. In addition, they had on that board Bruce Lindsay's wife, Bev. Bruce Lindsay being this consigliere, maybe across the street here, so the consigliere to the Clinton family.
Right.
Long back, who has to be one of the sloppiest and worst lawyers I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot.
Yeah, me too.
But this is a guy, who's that Mr. Fix-It? You know,
Bob Vila?
Mr. Gadget or whatever, Mr. Fix-It. This guy is Mr. Fuck It Up. I mean, it's just amazing the number of stupid things that he's signed or people have signed in his name that are incriminating. But anyway, so the Birthplace Foundation is one. David Pryor had been on the board of that thing, and he didn't disclose that relationship in the 1023 that went in on the Clinton Foundation. That should have been disclosed. There are other things that should have been disclosed. Then there are 2 White House-related foundations. One was set up in 1963, before John Kennedy was shot.
Oh.
It's called the White House Historical Association. And the idea behind that is was to have people who care about the White House. This is Vanderbilt. Should we
What
go
the hell
down
is that
Vanderbilt?
guy doing? Charles, somebody's setting something on fire over there.
Let's not get too close to that. Let's go over this way.
Let's just see what this guy's doing.
He's on a bike. And if he takes off, he's going to come right to us. So let's just...
Well, if something's gonna... Wait a minute.
I think he could be welding something on his
I
bike.
don't think so. He's got a garbage bag. Definitely does not look safe.
He doesn't. Who is that? Is that Barack Obama?
I don't know about that. Obama went somewhere to do some environmental thing. I guess burning garbage bags might be included in that.
Yeah. So the White House Historical Association, and then there's something that was set up in 1998, in March of 1998, when Bill and Hillary were just beginning their grifting seriously around the Clinton Foundation, and where they needed to raise money to defend against the Lewinsky charges. Should we go this way? And this thing is called the White House Endowment and Acquisition Trust. And I think that, or the White House Association, is an entity that Jeffrey Epstein contributed money to and attended some kind of session, party session, with Hillary Clinton, and I think involving Ghislaine Maxwell. And the person who made that connection is the same Mark Middleton involved with the Clinton Birthplace Foundation, and kicked out of the White House because he's a young idiot. I mean, he was so bad that in the early days of the Clinton administration, they kicked him out of the White House for being over the line.
But didn't you tell me that he then utilized personal relationships to continue to gain access? Let's go this way around, because
Sure.
we went this way last time.
Sure. He what he did is, it's like, you leave your first job and you have friends at your first job.
You know the security guard, and you're like, "Hey, man, what's up?" And you just walk in.
No. Somebody you were working with say, "Hey, you want to come over to the White House mess for lunch?" And you say, "Sure." And everybody knows you, so you've been there a couple of years, and you go. And then you start bringing in the daughter of the dictator of Indonesia and John Wong and all these crooks who were trying to gain favors from the Clinton administration. And that's what this guy was doing. And he was traveling around the world claiming that he was going to put business deals together and trading off his perceived access not only to Bill Clinton but to...
It's exactly like what's-her-name's boyfriend, Fabio whatever, Fabrizio.
Folieri.
Anne
Hathaway's...
Hathaway, right. Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, Folieri. And that kind of stuff happens all day long. I mean, it happens. Presidential children do it. Hunter Biden, thinking of him.
Oh, yeah.
Marvin Bush, Neil Bush. You go down the whole Bush league.
Pierce Bush.
This Bush, that Bush.
Too many Bushes.
Flat Bush. But anyway, so I think it's interesting to me that as rumors began to pour out that there were women in June of '97, I think it was, Bill Clinton, the Washington Post had an article suggesting that Bill Clinton was carrying on affairs with like 10 to 15 different women or
How
something.
the hell does he have time for that? What?
Yeah, he doesn't do any work.
It's unbelievable, Charles.
Yeah. But
Normally one woman is like a lot to handle.
yeah, and then he actually, back in I.C. Smith's book, he talks about when he first got to Arkansas. And he's from Louisiana, and so he wasn't making negative comments about the Deep South or anything. He just
Like that Arklatex, it's all kind of...
he said he felt it was important to figure out what was going on with the Sheriff's Association. So he contacts the Sheriff Association and asks, who are the good ones and who are the bad ones. And it turns out there's a really bad one. So they do a sting. And they send an attractive FBI agent in to talk to this guy. He immediately says, his first reaction is, "Oh, nice to meet you, honey. Why don't we get naked?" And she's like, "No, I don't think so."
They use a female FBI agent in this thing?
Right. And so she comes back all flustered, says, "This is what happened." And they say, "Listen, we're going to have to do a real sting here. You're going to wear a wire and whatever." And they send her back in. She agrees to meet this guy in a hotel room. And the guy is sheriff of some county. And I don't know how many sheriffs there are, counties there are.
Mankato.
Pulaski, all this. This guy gets her in the hotel room, and and does the same routine that Bill pulled on Paula Jones. He drops trow and asks her to kiss it.
Well, it's also what he did to Juanita Broderick, isn't it? Or
he raped her.
Yeah. A little more.
Well, according to Juanita, and to testimony, he bit her upper lip so hard, pierced it, to just stop her from fighting, and raped her, she claims, and then did the same thing in like 45 minutes later. That's what the allegation is. And it's a sad state of affairs, but I think at this stage, if you're going to be a powerful official, governor, president, even senator, I mean, the allegations against Joe Biden that he did what he did to Tara Reade in some hallway in some Senate building. I mean, these people should have responsible, ethical aides with them at all times. I mean, you just shouldn't. It's so damaging to do that kind of stuff to a person. I mean, forget the physical, which is horrible, the emotional damage that wreaks, not just on the target of it, but on the family and the friends, and it's just
future relationships.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah. More stuff out of business here.
And equally, alleging that somebody did something when they didn't is also horrible.
Yeah.
Here we go.
What is this? Botswana.
Botswana, I'm told, is a great place to visit.
I like this coat of arms with zebras on it instead of horses. Permanent mission of the Republic of Botswana.
But what does Pula mean?
What does Pula mean? What are the gears all about? Why is there a steer? And what is this? Is this a narwhal husk? Charles, what about this British guy who got stabbed in
that's a while
church?
back.
I mean, that's...
No,
it was just Friday or something. Some member of Parliament died.
Not by a narwhal horn.
No,
narwhal horn incident.
That was like a year or two ago.
More than that.
Yeah, two and a half years ago, outside the Fishmongers Hall, where David Hawkins and I went.
Did you get stabbed?
Almost like...
You didn't get stabbed?
No, but do you remember in Monty Python's The Meaning of Life, where they come and they knock on the guy's apartment or whatever, and they're like, we're looking for this man's leg. Is it in there? And no, there's no legs in here. And he's like, got it. He somehow had the guy's leg.
That's funny.
So this was, when we went to the Fishmongers Hall, we knocked on the door, and the guy opened it a crack. He's like, no, you can't come in. Go away.
No narwhals here.
Yeah, no tusks in this place.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's crazy that guy got stabbed.
It is, they're saying it's a Somali Islamic militant.
Was he a recent...
He had who knows with this kind of stuff, you don't know. It takes a little time to get to the bottom of it. But, when we had that idiot Jake Sullivan, and I hope Durham and others are onto Sullivan, who was a straight up, unrepentant partisan hack, corrupt partisan hack.
Yeah.
When he got up there and was before we rushed to the door in Afghanistan now, he got up there and said, don't worry, everybody's being vetted. All these people are being vetted. And now it turns out they're not being vetted. And as you said in the beginning, you bet we were going to send the Afghan government, pretend government, it's not a legitimate government in my view, it's seized power, we're going to go and give them aid, which is outrageous.
I agree.
I mean, we need to give aid. I mean, that fool, and she is a straight up fool, Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago. I mean, she looks like a distant relative of
Beetlejuice?
Marge Simpson.
That's true too. The sisters.
Marge. Distant sister, sister by a different mother or something like that. And she is attacking people who are concerned about vaccine, calling them conspiracy theorists. I mean, this woman is smoking some serious hemp, and the Fraternal Order of Police in Chicago has said, fuck a vote.
Oh yeah, they don't want to take the vaccine. There's a lot of really important workers who are not wanting it, and it's we have to also get to boot edge and the whole
boot edge
supply line crisis. But also, Charles, it's a good moment to remind people that it does seem to be working on Rumble. People can watch us on rumble.com /user/CS the truth. Although it's a little jammed up on this phone. It was working a minute ago. Good way to stay in touch if you don't like YouTube.
Good.
So Boot Edge, he was on the Booty Gauge was on a interview where he was saying everything is fine. You're not going to be able to get anything until next year.
For a couple of years. I mean,
yeah.
That's so absurd. It's like the typical bad consultant. You
Off the breastfeed, bye.
Well, no, you hire a consulting firm, or let's say a big company gets into the business of hiring McKinsey under a theory that what you'll do is the head of VP of Corporate Development hires McKinsey, and they pay a whole bunch of money from the company to McKinsey, and then the VP of Corporate Development retires and becomes an advisor to McKinsey.
Huh.
It's
just trying to show everybody GNC was out of business. This guy's driving way too fast on the sidewalk with a bike. Grubhub. I hate
Idiot.
Grubhub.
So, careful. So,
McKinsey.
yeah, so you hire, you're a middle-level person at the client, and in comes this wet behind the ears idiot, Boot Edge,
Right.
and gives you some crazy-ass advice, but you can't fire McKinsey because your big boss won't let you do it. Now, one of the first things I ever did was to fire McKinsey.
Good.
Dillon Reed. They were giving atrocious advice to Purolator. And I had them, it was tough actually for me to do what I did, but I did it. And so this guy, Buttigieg, is a moron. He may have an academic credentials, he may have a Rhodes Scholarship and all that, but he's a fucking moron. And the reason he's especially a fucking moron is because transportation is a real discipline. I mean, it's a whole, you can't decide on a whim that you're going to change the way in which goods and services are distributed by trains and planes and automobiles and whatever, because all of those investments take a large amount of time to get through the different regulatory systems and built, and there are all kinds of unions involved, the regulators
what's his
involved.
qualification to even have that job? I mean,
He was a Rhodes Scholar. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
yeah. So to get up there and say it's going to take, why should it take until 2022 to undo what this team has done in 9 months?
Well, I thought they solved it last week. They said they were just going to keep the port open 24 hours. Done. Next question.
Yeah, well, of course, that's stupid, because the problem is, the issue is not...
What is the problem?
In the port, the issue is that the crane operators in the port make $250,000 a year, and they're heavily unionized. And the second issue is because these idiotic pay approaches where you can stay home and not work, people who might be truck drivers don't want to work. So you don't have enough truck drivers.
So the port is overloaded.
You could open it all day, but you don't have anyone
not going to be. There's a bottleneck somewhere that he's not addressing.
You can't get the goods off the ship because the crane operators won't work that hard. And once you do that, you can't get all the shit off the dock that's already there because there are not enough truck drivers. I mean, to say that blithely, no, don't worry about it, we'll fix that next year. And by the way, he needs 2 months to be at home with his partner.
It's outrageous.
It's just, for those of us who've had children, and admittedly with help, in my case, substantial help, it's absolutely the case that the childbearing person needs to have time off. I mean, it is a traumatic experience. You have the risks of postpartum depression once you get through the delivery, and then the bonding with the child. I mean, it's not, you shouldn't just say, oh, I have the baby, and then Monday why don't you come back to work. But as far as the husband was concerned, and whoever's the husband in this relationship,
you could have gone right back.
I went back the next day.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, I think, the important point is that, like,
when
you run your own...
I didn't take a day off in either case, now that I think about it.
Yeah, and when you run your own business, or, like, see, market-driven forces can be bad, but there's a lot about it that's good. When you run your own company and it's deliver or die, you don't take 2 months off for anything.
Right.
And I was thinking about this, the whole time I've been doing Crowdsource the Truth, this might come as a shock to some people.
You haven't had a vacation?
Well, that's a given. But I mean, I've been running it almost like half power.
Right.
Compared to, like, when I was running 21st Century 3D, it was almost a guarantee. that when any job was happening and it got down to the point where it had to be delivered,
You were the man.
well, no, it was just, you couldn't call them and be like, hey, I know your multi-million-dollar trade show is tomorrow, but we need another day.
Yeah.
It was like you're fired and you're getting sued if that happens, and you're never going to be hired
Let's go
again.
down Park. So there's people right behind
And
us.
this deliver or die attitude where my father was in the hospital dying
Right.
during a job we were doing, and I had to not sleep and come back to the office and make sure things were happening. And Pete Buttigieg is like, I don't care about what's happening to anybody in the United States. You can't get food, you can't get Christmas presents, you can't get stuff you need to fix your house or your car or get to your job.
Promote me upwards. I mean, I honestly,
Why don't they just fire the guy?
with extreme prejudice. I mean, absurd. I mean, on the heels of destroying what remains of South Bend, Indiana.
But look at this, Charles. If you want to become a Ghostbuster, you could...
Was that Ghostbusters?
No, but it could be.
Yeah.
South Bend, Indiana. Oh, that's where he was the mayor,
Yeah.
right?
Pretended to be the mayor.
Where's he from?
The moon, as far as I can tell. From some petri dish.
The fact that he is in a job where he's getting paid and taking time off is such a slap in the face.
Well,
to
he's
so many people.
He's the same school of Obama, you know, the false argument school. Some would say that Republicans drink blood and cut the hearts out of babies for fun, but I don't think that. You know, and same with Edge. So another thing, we're bouncing around a little bit here on the legitimacy, in quotes, of the Clinton Foundation. How many?
Hey, I like that inflatable
Football thing?
football.
How many?
helmet.
A man called Taylor Branch, who won a Pulitzer Prize and is a famous historian,
Yes, you've told us about that.
legitimately famous historian,
Bill Clinton's friend.
Bill Clinton's friend.
Taylor Not So Swift.
No, Taylor Branch. And he, this book that he wrote, The Secret Tapes,
That's the name of it?
yeah, it's not so secret anymore. It was
Yeah.
published in 2009 when B-Rock was president, so when there was cover. The Presidential Records Act states specifically that all communications involving the president and his senior staff that relate, I'm paraphrasing, that relate to the official or ceremonial duties of the president are presidential records. All. Doesn't say some, it says all.
Make sure you keep them on an email server in the bathroom.
Right. And it says specifically all recordations, whether audio or video, and all electronic communications.
And stuff that hasn't been invented yet and
Right.
words like that.
But it's all by the time the Clinton Foundation was incorporated on October 23rd, 1997 at 11:22 in the morning, Little Rock time, how many meetings had Taylor Branch had, recording sessions with Bill Clinton?
I don't know. How many? A lot.
58.
I'm surprised it wasn't 33.
Yeah. But there is a significant revelation in there, I forget what it is now, on page 233
Aha.
of the book. But anyway, so, and this Taylor, you know, who is apparently an old college friend or college age vintage friend, I don't know if they went to the same
Oxford?
college. No, they worked on the McGovern campaign together when they were both,
McGovern.
yeah, in 1972. Bill
But wait,
was,
isn't that the guy whose Nixon broke into his office? George McGovern.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's interesting.
right. So,
And then Hillary worked on the Watergate campaign and
Right.
got kicked off.
right. But just sticking for a second on
Sorry.
Taylor Branch, it's okay. Sticking on him for a second, they knew each other for a long time, and in the book, there was all this inside baseball where Taylor admits and describes Clinton as telling him that they needed to have, each of them was going to record the conversation. And that what Taylor did is he didn't provide a transcript in the book of his chats with Bill. Instead, he characterizes them in the book.
Why?
Well, because I think these are presidential records, which he shouldn't have had. And he then claims in his book, and there's evidence in the University of North Carolina, that he donated transcripts and the actual microcassettes and other supporting materials to an archive, and probably after this broadcast it'll immediately be burned. But there must be a record somewhere of this archive, most significantly, potentially including a memorandum dated July 6th, 1993, i.e. before Vince Foster was found dead, stating that...
July 6th, did you say?
Yes, I did.
So that's 3 days before, 4 days before.
Wasn't it 19th? I think it was 19th or 20th.
I thought the 10th, but we'll check.
You can check. So anyway, this memo, a guy named Bob Barnett, we talked about him before.
Working.
It's what?
Rumble is back to working.
Good. So Barnett had written, they had multiple meetings at the White House and elsewhere at Williams and Connolly offices where they'd considered what to do with presidential records. Barnett
You're right, July 20th, 1993.
Yeah. Don't say that like you're amazed.
So you're, well, I thought it was the 10th. Oh, because the July 10th is when they killed Seth Rich.
Right. No, I'm just teasing. Anyway.
It's hard to keep all these Clinton
I know.
alleged murders straight.
Yeah, so there's a memo dated July 6, 1993, which if it had been addressed to the president, you know, I guess so much time has passed, you're now almost 30 years later, perhaps you could still assert attorney-client privilege, but I think it's out there in the public domain, potentially. And this memo allegedly addresses how Williams and Connolly wanted to get book deals for the Clintons. And obviously
to pay the bill.
Well, no, this is before all the big problems happened. This is, you know, there were some problems, but this is July.
It's another Tesla taxi. There's a lot
July
of these
6th,
now.
1993.
Well, if it's out in the public domain, then it sort of blows the attorney-client privilege.
Right. I'm hoping it is in the public domain, but the point of this is that, you know, when you look at the aggressive tone that David Kendall takes in many letters, and you can see them in the Hillary Clinton 42 or 3-part FBI vault file dump, you see that the guy's pretty damn precise. I mean, he writes very well, punctuation is all correct, grammar's all correct, he's the Articles of Incorporation and bylaws and put the ridiculous application for federal tax exemption into the IRS. That can't be David Kendall, or it was delegated to somebody and the word just went down. Listen, Hillary's best friend runs the IRS. We put that
Nothing
together.
to worry about.
We fired all the U.S. attorneys. We've got Crooks in as Deputy Attorney General. We fired the head of the FBI. What the fuck do you care?
Nothing to worry about,
This
right.
is a message to everybody saying, you know, when we're in power, we do what we want. And this increases the marketability, our marketability as crooks. Because you could look and say,
They're the A-team for that.
yeah, we're so powerful, you know, you should bribe us. The bribe should be higher.
Let's just look at this for a minute, Charles. I think people will enjoy seeing this.
It's a nice Catholic church.
And we've got a little scene there of what looks like the baby Jesus.
Now this is a very old, an old Catholic church. It's funny, there's several Catholic churches in New York which say this is the oldest Catholic church in New York, and they all have different dates. And
Well, that's like, this is the best hamburger.
or raised pizza,
Oh,
the
okay.
original raised pizza.
Yeah. Wow, look at that.
That's beautiful.
I'll tell you, it's nice to see a place that is just still open and everything.
Yeah.
Like people could go in there and do whatever.
Yeah. And you see how quiet it is around here.
It's kind of pleasant right now.
Yeah, I kicked myself that I sold that apartment over there, second floor where the 2 air conditioners are.
Right.
On the right is the living
yeah,
room,
yeah.
left is the bedroom.
That would have been immensely valuable right now.
Well, it's just also convenient. I mean, it's no good when you have children, but it's much nicer than a hotel room.
I think we're pretty close to where, maybe I'm wrong, but right back in the beginning of all this 2016 stuff, I went to visit that office where Trump's doctor, who actually has died since, that sort of Hawaiian shirt doctor.
I don't know.
Wow, that's not smart. Crossing the street against the light while texting. We would have had a viral video if that woman went flying.
Unless she went into us,
They usually just flip over in the air.
in your experience.
I've seen it on the internet.
You see how quiet this is? You know, if you've got a real office job and a lot of responsibility, and you need to get in Sunday night to prepare for a big meeting on Monday or have meetings on the weekend, pretty nice to have a pied a terre here. This actually was torn down, and this used to be an old-fashioned hotel. It was really had a nice dining room in it, and but much of this is more or less as it was when I moved here in '83.
This is really a lot of residential,
Yeah.
maybe condos, probably rentals.
Some rentals, but mostly co-op.
Co-ops, right.
Anyway, so we've covered Buttigieg.
Well, there's one other thing that I had here that I wanted to talk to you about. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to, because I was confused about this, Charles. They're talking about, and it has had an impact on Bitcoin. By the way, people who want to become sponsors on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. If you want to use Bitcoin, I can accommodate that. People can sponsor the Counter Lawfare Fund by going to crowdsourcethetruth.com. Send me an email if you'd like to use cryptocurrency, but definitely would be appreciated. And anybody who wants to buy an annual sponsorship with cryptocurrency subscription. So good thing for people to do with crypto. And what I was going to ask you, Charles, is there's a lot of talk right now about the first Bitcoin futures ETF being set to begin trading this coming week. However, there's some stuff about it that it's saying that the Securities and Exchange Commission had not formally approved the creation of Bitcoin futures ETF as of Friday, and the agency may never make a formal declaration of approval for it. So what does that mean? If it's not approved, how can they do it?
Well, so the issue is what they're trying to do, the Bitcoin promoters are trying to do, is complete the formalities necessary for large institutional investors to consider making an allocation to Bitcoin. To date, I don't think large institutional investors have been able to do that. The second that happens, assuming there isn't a massive flaw in it, there'll be a lot of the institutional investors will say, well, I need to have a position.
So it'll increase demand and the price will go up.
Could increase demand, but that's, in my view, you're really with Bitcoin in tulip land.
Right.
Particularly as you look around the world and you think about the big pockets of consumption demand and big pockets of capital investment demand. In Europe is imploding with the weather problems, with the financial problems.
Evergrande.
China, you got Evergrande. The U.S., you got Bite Me and the Bite Me administration, which I would argue
Birdbrain
is remarkably dishonest and seems to be hell-bent to leather, following the example of Clinton and Obama, to actually destroy this country. I mean, they're not. I mean, they're the peremptory, the sudden decisions they're making to force our armed forces to be vaccinated.
Threatening the Navy SEALs that they're going to have to pay for their training if they don't get
absurd.
vaccinated.
I mean, that's an absurd, even principle to try to go down that line.
Huh?
Sorry?
I guess you're a photographer.
We're doing a podcast. Would you like to be on it?
I don't want to scare the hell out of you.
How do you feel about Joe Biden? Is he a good president so far, or are you a little
A little mixed.
mixed?
I like him, but I think sometimes he gets a little too progressive.
Don't you think he's kind of brain dead?
No, I don't think he's brain dead. I think sometimes he's dealing from a religious point of view.
What religion do you believe he is?
I know what religion he is. It's not a question of that. I happen to be Jewish. I'm not Catholic.
I can kind of tell.
But it doesn't matter. Hello.
Well, thanks for speaking with us.
Yes, I was a Spanish and French teacher.
Where?
Westchester County.
Oh, good for you.
But I'm retired
Good for you.
because I'm 83.
No.
Yes, 83 and a half, 83 y medio.
You look very well for 83.
Muchas gracias.
Have a nice
Nada.
evening.
Have a good time. Diviértanse ustedes.
Adios. Well, that was
83.
nice.
Wow.
I disagree with her assessment of Joe Biden, but a kind woman nonetheless.
Well, he's a religious. His religion is stupid.
I
Not
mean-
the Catholic religion. His particular religion. is stupid.
Stupidism, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's. Luckily, Charles, they're missing a 3 right over there.
You don't see the other one?
Do you?
No. There is no other one.
Yeah, that's just a single. Well, oh, wait, there is.
The white one?
3 columns with a 3 on it. That's an encoded 33.
It's, I think, 3 Park Avenue is the idea.
But they don't need 3 columns there to put a 3 on it. Anyway, I suppose you could see that
3
in a lot of
coins in a
situations
fountain,
where
right?
it's not there exactly. But
Wasn't that a
sorry, you
movie?
were talking about something before that woman attracted our attention by saying whatever she said there.
Bitcoin. I was saying that
Right.
so the way this kind of stuff works, when there's a new financial instrument to own that's been tested and whose value has gone way up, you're going to get a stampede into the asset class once the first reputable big firm says, Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan Chase shot all over
he hates it.
He shot all over it, but
Oh, yeah.
if the investment team at JP Morgan says, we watch this now, we wish we'd gotten in at $1, it's now $63,000, we would recommend our clients have some Bitcoin in their portfolio. The second one firm does that, everybody else is going to say, well, I need more too, and the reverse is true. If JP Morgan comes out and says, we think this is shitcoin, not Bitcoin,
But
then
none of their people are in it yet anyway. So if they say that, it would probably have minimal effect because the people who do have it sort of think that like Chase Bank and JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon are jackasses.
right. But people, I remember, and we've talked about this before, in the internet bubble, I was down with my brother, and I want to say it might have been 99, or it might have been 2000. The internet bubble burst in 2000, and I forget what, but it was at the froth of the bubble. And what they would do is they'd have these young kids drop out of college or business school, whatever, say they had some invention,
Right.
call it .com, take the thing public. The underwriters would make a shit ton of money off the underwriting.
And then it fails.
Well, it still wasn't failing. So, and then they'd be in the press release business. They just start issuing press release after press release, and the market would say, "Oh, they have a new joint venture arrangement. Let's bid the stock up 30%." Or what? And not even thinking through the financial consequences.
Can you guys take a picture of the group of us?
We're in the middle of a podcast. Sorry.
Sorry. Sure, I'll drop everything.
It's a reasonable request, but thanks, no.
No, we're not going to do that. So, and I forget which one it was. It was a Korean American
Oh, yeah, and they would deliver anything.
within half an hour.
And I bought a lot of stuff from that because they were giving such discounts. Like there was like some $750 portable DVD player that I wanted, and they were selling it for $500. It's like, bring it over. And the next week they went out of business.
Right. So there were all kinds of question marks over how are you actually making money. And I remember my brother had just bought his apartment in Rio, and he'd gotten it fixed up, and he had a flat screen TV, and we're in the den watching this CNBC.
Urban Fetch.
That wasn't the name of it.
There was another competitive one that had like a weird invented word name.
So the CNBC.
What the hell was that?
That's just a tip over of the thing there. The CNBC interviewer was saying, all right, whatever your name is, we understand that you've gone public and your stock price is moving. Please explain to our audience and to investors why the stock price is justified. I mean, you're trading at 1 billion times earnings and it's a ridiculous valuation. Please explain this. And he looks up, he goes, "We got some killer apps, dude. Killer apps."
Oh.
And I looked at my brother and I said, "Oh, okay, killer apps.
That's gonna
Put me down for 100,000. I mean, that thing spectacularly went bust. And actually, the lore over why it got funding, and I think it was from Chase Capital Partners and others, is they had a pre-IPO round where this same Korean guy gets up, and I think he had dropped out of Goldman Sachs in his 20s or something as an analyst, and he explained that you could just get anything you want from certain categories within 30 minutes delivered, and the team at Chase Capital Partners, I think,
Cosmo.com.
that was it, Cosmo.com. And CosmoKramer.com would have been
That's-
more
that's-
entertaining. But so they went ahead and they placed a whole bunch of orders, and sure enough, the stuff came in half an hour, and they got their millions, tens of millions, whatever.
Now I think we're back.
Good. We're gonna wait. I think.
What were we talking about there,
We're
Charles?
talking. I was joking, saying I'm not giving investment advice, and then we got cut
Oh,
off.
and then it got cut, right.
And then I said maybe I should get. But the way I try to think about investments is I don't invest in anything I can't understand, and I just struggle with Bitcoin, and so I don't care that it went up as much as it went up. It's fine.
No, I hear you. It's an interesting thing to me, and I'm lucky enough to have a small amount of it, so obviously if it becomes worth a huge amount of money, money is useful.
Money can rent happiness. That's for sure.
Well, you can't buy happiness, but you can buy a Cadillac and drive around looking for it. Or
The sayings of JG.
not be as hungry while you're wallowing in misery.
That's true. I think that book, you got another book in the hopper here, The Sayings of JG. One thing we should talk about, I think, a little bit is China.
China.
We haven't talked about that.
Isn't she rocking his Chairman Mao outfits these days?
Well, yeah, I mean, the news out of China, the economic data that they publish is horrible. It shows declining economic activity in many sectors.
Chinese data.
The ports have problems. The coal, they rely on coal, but there are these storms that are making it impossible to get coal out of the mines. And of course, this gridlock in our ports creates problems for them. And so
boats back to send more stuff.
Well, I mean, the boats can't unload. They've come from. They're sitting on the water.
Isn't there stuff on there that's like rotting and
Could be.
going bad?
Could well be. And so I always try to start with economic information, and I think the economic situation in China is rugged. I think the economic situation in Europe is rugged. There's no question the situation in the United States is rugged, with inflation rising, job losses, a feeble, inept, and dangerous administration, and no ability to get anything actually accomplished until 2023 at this point, because we have gridlock in Washington, in the House of Representatives and the Senate, and Biden is clueless. I mean, he and his team are clueless or worse. So in this kind of environment, in China, you can continue to enslave Uyghurs and political opponents.
That guy almost ran over that lady's dog.
Yeah. In China, you can tamp down dissent to a point, but you've got, call it 150 million insiders and call it 3 billion outsiders, and at a certain point when the outsiders are eating cold dirt and dirty water, they just mutiny. And you can't, even if you have all the guns, there comes a point at which, as Ceausescu found in Romania, that the masses rise up and tear the thing down. So China is very unstable, and to distract economically, to distract from the internal misery, it appears that Xi is going all strongman, curbing the distribution of American media.
Oh, right. They said no more American movies.
Clamping down on social media, clamping down now on supposedly corruption, which I think is really a way to steal, MBS style, take all the rich people.
Only I get to do corruption.
Yeah. And then on top of the optics of him walking around in a G outfit, like the modern thing, a Mao outfit now is a G outfit.
Right.
And then sending these many planes over Taiwan and ships and making these comments and that hypersonic weapon.
Right, that's what we need to talk about, is that China demonstrating a hypersonic weapon goes right back to Bill Clinton and this Charlie Tree thing. And also, Hawkins speaks quite a bit about John Shalikashvili, who was the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Bill Clinton, whose father was a Waffen SS agent, which, all right, I don't know, the sins of the fathers, the sins of the sons. That's a little too close for my taste.
Yeah.
And apparently, David Hawkins says that Bill Clinton sent Shalikashvili to China, where he gave some kind of speech saying, the president has advised me to give you all of our information about our weapons programs.
Right.
And
Well-
I've heard that this is what allowed China to create their space program and intercontinental ballistic missiles and now hypersonic missiles.
Well, if you think about it, if you put your Chinese, let's go around this way.
What's going on?
I don't know. It's probably a birthday party or something. You put your I'm a Chinese spy hat on, and you say, you look at the United States and you see that we have this reverence for rogue scholars and political junkies, and you see this Bill Clinton, who's a sex maniac, cokehead, who appears to be somebody that they can shoehorn in to be the governor and maybe be the president of the United States. And you say to yourself, if you're a fan of the 10 or 20-year plan, this is a great plan here. Let's place some chips on Bill Clinton, with the added benefit that in Arkansas, you have Tyson Chicken.
Oh yeah, transporting coke around in their chicken trucks.
Well, wanting to export chicken. You have
with coke in it. The DEA investigated Don Tyson.
Right, but Tyson Chicken is
Sorry, we just got to observe one gigantic bubble. You're right, it's a birthday party.
Right, and so you got Tyson Chicken, and then you've got Walmart wants to source a whole bunch of cheap crap from China, and then you have the rice empire in Arkansas. So there's ample reasons to believe that Chinese business interests and corrupt political interests would want to capture the Clinton family, and not just the Clinton family, the Bush family too.
Right, and the Biden family.
Exactly. So it's not, I don't think, conspiracy theory, especially when you know now that I.C. Smith says in the book, and Louis Freeh confirms in the book, that there actually was an FBI investigation into these campaign contributions and Charlie Tree and all that. Multiple people were...
Well, let's go this way. They've moved the dog run, Charles.
It's gone to the dogs, Jason.
This actually looks better.
I guess.
Oh yeah, look. They have the whole dog airlock here now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they need that. Probably something to do with putting leashes on them.
I don't know either. But what would happen if you had one dog that looked exactly like another dog?
I think it's like twins. You can tell the difference when you know them.
What if they're identical?
You can still tell the difference.
Really? I don't think Biden could tell the difference between a 45-year-old man and a 6-year-old girl.
I don't think he can. Even if they're not identical.
That's why he sniffs so much.
Yeah, there was something you brought up that I was going to comment on, but I forgot.
But so my point is, back on these investigations, we know that there are FBI vaults on the email, on the Clinton Foundation. We know as well from these books, I.C. Smith's book and other books, that people in Maine justice impeded real investigations. And then here's one thing I did mention. I.C. Smith is particularly negative on Mike Horowitz.
The IG?
Yeah, but now the IG, but back then at Justice, he's very negative on him for...
What does he say about him? That he's a do-nothing schmuck?
No, he's an interference type guy, would suppress finding out the truth. And so...
That's why they put him in charge.
Exactly. So when I look at all this, and he also, I.C. Smith talks about how it was surprising to him that both Republicans and Democrats, because he would talk to senators and other people, were reluctant to get to the bottom of this campaign finance controversy.
Not surprising to me.
Yeah, because Republicans are taking dirty money too. So I don't want to dump all over the audience with all this bad news. I think some good news is that a poll has come in showing that among independents, Biden had, I think, either 26 or 29% among independents. And I mean, there got to be some pretty dumbass independents if you're still supporting Biden. But
that lady thinks she's all right.
How old was she, Jason?
83.
Right, I rest my case.
Well, but that doesn't, I mean,
there's just, I know as I age, I become somewhat less swift than I was 30 years ago.
Really?
Right, sure.
But you're not dumber.
You don't know? I mean, not dumber, but you may not be able to remember things as well. As my father likes to say, not only does he have trouble remembering things that happened, he believes things that didn't happen did happen.
Really?
Well, I think that happens as you age.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you have stuff in your brain and
It's true.
a lot of different competing memories. But anyway, so this, I don't think it was good at all that Bill did what he did with Monica. I don't think it's good the travel office and the many other scandals that we could talk about, Whitewater, go on and on. But when you're competing with a country that was flat on its ass in 1996, that being the People's Republic of China, and today you see we're the ones flat on our asses, it is fair to ask the political class and the donor class, what the fuck were you doing? And who benefited from selling all Americans, whether Democrat, Independent, or Republican, out to these crooked, anti-freedom people running the People's Republic of China? I mean, I don't want a lecture from any know-it-all pundit about why any American should be pleased to see social media dominated, heavily influenced, clearly by people in thrall to the People's Republic, suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Well, which Zuckerberg spent $420 million doing something for Democrat votes or whatever.
Right, and as I pointed out to you in an email and in talking about it, the head of the unit at Facebook responsible for taking down offensive content is an august graduate of the Clinton School of Public Service.
Ridiculous.
I know. That's like the Capone School of Accounting Regularity.
Right.
You know? The Rodney Dangerfield or the Jackie Gleason School of Dietary Institute.
Yeah. It's very disheartening, Charles.
So I hope, you know, these go.
What do we got here?
This is the other side of the thrift shop.
Normally, this is the
Well, this is the same. We walked by this.
flea,
We walked by this coming out here, I thought.
but not on camera.
Oh, right.
This is basically the flea market expanded to the sidewalk. Isn't it usually in the parking lot over there?
I think so.
Now
Bumper business crop.
it's just back up the sanitation department.
Yeah. This is, I mean,
Yeah, I'm selling it. I'm a portable heater.
yeah, I'll take 2 of those.
A lot of
Portable heater.
Yeah,
of
I'm sure.
garbage.
Do you think that guy, if I asked to see his sale tax ID number, I'd get any crap from him?
yeah. Tell me you're tax exempt.
Some tools. See any tools you need there?
No, thank you.
Chainsaw.
Cell phones.
One sneaker. I mean, this is just.
New York's back. If you want to buy junk.
Well, the good news is that that 1 cent pizza place is still 1 cent pizza.
$1.
$1 rather. I've gone by other of those that are now charging $1.25.
I don't like that place. That, first of all, is always,
Bums begging in front.
well,
You can see
I was
2
going
of
to
them
say
now.
criminals. It's usually some pretty
You see them right now. There are 2 of them right there.
thuggish people
3 of
hanging
them.
outside the dollar pizza place saying, hey,
Yes,
give me
guy.
pizza.
Yeah. Crazy.
And actually, the pizza place doesn't chase them out because you give money to them and then they buy pizza.
That's right.
There's a lot of stuff out of business on this street as well. But we're almost done here, Charles.
We are.
Anything else you want to discuss?
Well,
Garbage?
garbage everywhere. The sweet smell of garbage. It's getting cold.
It is getting colder.
Yeah.
A lot of people who aren't from New York are telling me how New York is back.
Yeah.
And that is the stupidest thing. That's like someone telling me, oh, you're not feeling well. It's like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? How do you know how?
I'd say definitely there's more activity than a year ago at this time, for sure.
Okay, but
But it's definitely not back. And,
right.
And the arguments against investing capital to support a business based in New York City are so overwhelmingly high that the only people who are coming back are predominantly university kids and businesses. You know, the fashion industry is stuck here. Parts of the finance industry is stuck here. But if you're any kind of an export-driven company, you do not want to be in this country, in this portion of the country.
Charles, why'd you park the famous Volkswagen Scirocco over here?
That needs a little work.
This is a little rust.
Look at that license plate. How old is that license plate? I mean, isn't that an old-fashioned license plate? I mean, that's what they're
generations.
like now, right?
Yeah, that's a few generations ago. You're right. There's something about this Volkswagen Scirocco. I do think it was popular.
It has current tags, though.
It does.
How did it?
So wait, this is the perfect example.
How
Because
did
I've
it pass an inspection?
I don't know, but this is the perfect example because, like, President Dumb Joe Biden and other similarly stupid people, they like to say things like, "Vaccines work, Charles." Okay, automobiles work as well, but we've got various examples of automobiles, and that one looks a little bit more trustworthy and safe than this one, but yet they're both automobiles. It's interesting, isn't it?
It is indeed. Okay, isn't that one of these homeless centers or?
Oh yeah, that is right there. BRC is a homeless shelter, and it says create a lot of activity around here that's maybe less than excellent.
Optimal.
Yeah, but sorry, you were saying something probably about how stupid Joe Biden is.
Well, I'd close by saying that the art department has once again really done a fantastic job. Every time you send me these drafts, I mean, I don't want to laugh out loud, but particularly this one, reading the reviews, it definitely applies to these people. And you got to wonder, I mean, we in theory might have some people in the intelligence services who are tasked with studying the health and psychological well-being of important leaders around the world to get a sense for, if we're in a tough contest over something, let's say Putin, and we discover that he's hospitalized with a serious problem, we know that if we want to, we can press for advantage. And I gotta believe people around the world are doing that. Now,
Oh yeah.
one thing I would also mention is that our mutual friend, Katrina Blanova, has been really punching the lights out, interview after interview. I know she asked you some questions.
I was just reminded I got to get to that.
Yeah, but she last week did 2 interviews with me last week, and the thing I really like about her approach is she asks questions, and then she also does research and fills in
Adds
and
stuff,
makes the transitions. Explains why she's asking the question, then I answer it, and she really does a masterful job in a language that is definitely not her first language. It might not even be her second.
And it's a vastly different. It's not like French to English or Spanish to English. Like that
Different
is
alphabet.
a real sign of intelligence when someone can do that. But we are at the end of our line here, Charles. So thanks to everybody for sticking with us. And I want to remind people they can sponsor the show by going to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Lots of great shows last week and the sponsor exclusive content. And we've got another great show coming up tomorrow with Manny Grossman on the trail of Son of Sam. So get on to Subscribestar and Patreon. And thanks to all of the generous viewer sponsors who are already there making the show possible. Have a great evening, everybody. Thanks for